Hello, welcome to Telecom Weekly, your flagship program on telecom and ICT. Telecom Weekly aims at educating, informing and updating you with the latest trends, issues, news and developments in the telecom and ICT sectors, particularly in Nigeria. The program is brought to you by the telecom regulator, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. I am your host, Oluwatobi Enitan. Once again, welcome. Telecom regulator engages judiciary on adoption of digital technologies on judicial processes. Africa Youth Internet Governance Forum 2023 holds in Abuja. Dr. Bosun Tijani, the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, harps on driving change in Africa's digital future through collaborations as Africa Internet Governance Forum ends on a positive note in Abuja. This is the outlook of our outing today. Please don't go away.
On NCC Telecom Weekly, we bring you innovations, trends, policies, and stakeholders redefining all sectors of our economy today. Here, you will see the actors, policymakers, and creativity that will shape your mind and businesses for growth in line with today's reality. Join us every Monday on NTA Network, 10 p.m., and every Friday on Radio Nigeria FRCN Network, 8 p.m. NCC, Connecting Nigeria.
The need for judicial officers in the country to adopt digital technologies in judicial processes formed a major discuss at the 2023 edition of the Workshop for Judges and Justices on Telecom Issues organized by the NCC, which held in the Asian city of Kano.
The need to adopt digital technologies in advancing the course of justice in the country has been emphasized by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Professor Umar Dambata, the Executive Vice Chairman and CEO of the Commission, highlighted this at the 2023 National Workshop for Judges and Justices on Telecom Issues organized by the NCC in collaboration with the National Judicial Institute, NJI, held in Kano. In his welcome address, the NCC chief spoke on the importance of the workshop and stated the Commission's resolve to deepen knowledge of the digital future on the judiciary as a very critical and indispensable arm of government.
The entire world is transforming to a networked society, meaning telecommunication networks have become the order of the day, and services are daily being hosted on the networks or on the infrastructure, and therefore there is need for or to ensure there is no erosion of privacy, that data privacy laws are respected, and cyber crimes are kept in abeyance. And in the event this happens, these three things, erosion of security and privacy, data crimes, manifestation of data crimes, on the networks, and other forms of crimes, are committed, then these are normally referred to. The NCC has the power for mediation and arbitration, but does not have prosecutorial powers. Only competent laws of jurisdiction have such powers.
Professor Dambata also noted the responsiveness of the NCC to the rapid changes in the telecommunications and technology space, which he says has necessitated the steps taken by the Commission to begin the review of its enabling legislations, the Nigerian Communications Act 2003, NCA 2003, aimed at keeping pace with the dynamics of technological advancement.
At one time, Chief Justice of the Federation said this act is anachronistic, meaning it is old, and therefore needs to be reviewed. And I assured the members of the judiciary that this review process is going on as we speak. And at an appropriate time, members of the media will be invited to witness the presentation of the reviewed NCC Act.
In his keynote address at the occasion, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, the Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman, Board of Governors of the NJI commended the NCC for the workshop, even as he charged judges and justices to be abreast with the current issues in the telecom industry to ensure fair adjudication. The CGN, who said the workshop would play a vital role in building the capacity of judges and justices, added that ICT services have surpassed the conventional method of court service delivery, as the use of the internet is becoming a prominent feature of this era, with innovative and interactive influences on the public.
Technology has fundamentally transformed how we communicate, access information, and conduct legal proceedings. We are obliged to embrace this transformation while ensuring that doing justice remains at the forefront of our efforts. As a judicial officer, we cannot deny the fact that information technology and telecommunication services have surpassed the conventional method of court services delivery, as the use of the internet is becoming a prominent feature of this era, with innovative and interactive influences on the public. Advancement in the telecommunication sector have assumed a central role in contemporary judicial work and life, both within and beyond the courtroom.
Earlier, Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi, the administrator, NJI, said the workshop will play a vital role in providing a framework for regulation of the communications industry. Justice Abdullahi urged the participants to make adequate utilization of the experiences they would acquire in the course of the workshop.
Judicial officers must not only understand the laws and policies governing the telecommunication industry, but also apprehend the content in which these policies and laws are meant to be applied. Therefore, this workshop is tailored to the development and capacity building of judicial officers in evolving issues in the communication industry.
The 2023 edition of the workshop, themed The Adjudication Path in the Digital Era, provided an avenue for the Nigerian Communications Commission to update the country's legal luminaries on the latest trends in the industry for efficient adjudication of telecom-related cases.
The telecom regulator, NCC, says rapid technological growth is key to unlocking Africa's vast and untapped potentials in all spheres of development, as the Africa Youth Internet Governance Forum holds in Abuja.
The 12th edition of the Africa Youth Internet Governance Forum, AFYIGF 2023, has held in Abuja with the theme Emerging Technologies, Leveraging Innovation for Sustainable Development and Youth Empowerment. The AFYIGF's primary goal is to foster collaboration and exchange of experiences for emerging internet leaders in Africa. Professor Umar Garuba Dambata, the Executive Vice Chairman, Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, in his keynote address at the opening session of the forum, informed the gathering that the time to harness the energy and creativity of the teeming youth population in Africa for development has come. The EVC, who was represented at the event by Dr. Ibiso Kingsley George, Head Internet Governance Unit at the NCC, noted that the world is now in an era of rapid technological growth, which is key to unlocking the continent's vast and untapped potentials and transforming Africa's digital landscape.
We are in the era of rapid technological growth, which is key to unlocking our continent's untapped potential and transforming Africa's digital landscape. Emerging technologies have emerged as a beacon of hope, offering transformative solutions to these issues. With their disruptive potential, they offer a range of tools and solutions which have the power to propel Africa towards sustainable development and youth empowerment.
Professor Dambata further enumerated the various strategic policies and initiatives which the NCC has championed in this regard. This include youth empowerment, the provision of required tools, knowledge, and the platforms for young minds to thrive in the digital age. In her welcome remarks, Lilian Nawoga, chairperson of the Multi-Stakeholders Advisory Group of the AFIGF, harped on the need for youth in Africa to embrace emerging technologies which have the potentials to entrench a continent-wide digital revolution and stimulate growth and development.
I'm sure we all know what the Youth IGF is about, but to my understanding, it's a platform that brings together young experts and visionaries like yourselves to instill local perspectives, insights from your regions, and to put this together in how you can make the internet work for everyone, and more so determining or shaping the internet's future in Africa.
Telecom Weekly speaks with some youth ambassadors from Uganda, Ghana, Tanzania and South Africa who were unanimous in sharing that the time for African youth to take advantage of the opportunities that are bound within the digital ecosystem is now.
This is a collaborative space to bring young people on board, especially those engaged in internet governance, emerging technologies, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. So our discussions and conversations are focusing around this area because we want to leverage more efforts and connection for young people to engage in this space, be able to engage in policy formulation, be able to advance projects that support the internet work overall.
The Africa Youth Internet Governance Forum is a way to make the multi-stakeholder approach of the Internet Governance Forum evident and relevant, because it allows young people to share their voice and also their opinions on solutions for internet governance. It gives us a seat at the table and the opportunity to share our youth-led solutions in making the internet better for everyone.
First thing is achieving an Africa where the young people take hold of ownership of the internet resources, of the technology resources, of the policy narrative, and importantly, the intergenerational multi-stakeholder approach that we have, that young people can have a seat at the table and actually create the narrative. That's what we're going for, simply access.
So the main goal really of this sitting is to ensure that we've got young voices to come together to ensure that they are influencing technocrats, their policies, the decision makers, and that their voices are heard, to ensure that we stop saying that young people are marginalized. We stop, taking or assuming the role of victim, but we now say that we are going to be ensuring that we're speaking, we have a voice, and that any kind of legislation or policy that comes out includes us and it's for us.
During the panel session on the topic Empowering and Transforming Africa's Digital Landscape, the significance of youth internet governance forums and the multi-stakeholder model was highlighted, with emphasis on digital inclusion and access. The 12th edition of the Africa Youth Internet Governance Forum was a convergence of young experts in leadership roles and thought leaders who seek to instill local perspectives and insight into shaping the future of the internet within Africa by providing ideas and solutions to guide policy making and regulation.
The program is Telecom Weekly, sponsored by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Stay with us as we now take a break.
This is to notify the public that the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, in keeping with its responsibilities under the enabling law, the Nigerian Communications Act, NCA 2003, to manage Nigeria's numbering resources, hereby announces new numbering format for fixed lines. In the process, Nigeria's fixed lines numbering format has changed from 8 digits to 10 digits by just adding 02 before existing fixed number. For example, 094617000 will become 0209461700. For clarity, the public is hereby informed that all fixed telephone numbers will have 02 prefix before the existing numbers. Additional examples are stated below. The old and new number formats are allowed to run concurrently till the cut-over date, December 31, 2023. Thereafter, from January 1, 2024, the new fixed lines format will assume full recognition across all networks. Please note that this change only affects the fixed telephone numbers. There is no change to the existing mobile numbering format.
The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, advances prioritizing a collaborative approach to creating and crafting policies and strategies that will shape the future of the Internet in Africa, as Africa Internet Governance Forum ends on a positive note in Abuja.
The 12th edition of the Africa Internet Governance Forum, AFIGF, has held in Abuja, Nigeria with the theme, Transforming Africa's Digital Landscape, Empowering Inclusion, Security and Innovation. The AFIGF is dedicated to fostering open and inclusive dialogue on internet governance issues that impact Africa. While declaring the forum open, the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, said the hosting of the event in Nigeria shows the nation's commitment to spearheading positive change and fostering collaboration in the continent's digital space. This is even as the minister enjoins the delegates to use the forum to develop policies that will shape the future of internet in Africa.
Let me welcome you all specially to the Africa Internet Governance Forum 2023 in Abuja, Nigeria. Nigeria's hosting of the Africa Internet Governance Forum underpins our nation's commitment to spearheading positive change and fostering collaborations in the digital landscape. It also reflects our belief in the promise that the internet holds for the socio-economic transformation of our continent. Our Africa, brimming with youth, vibrancy, and of course, creativity, is at the cusp of a digital renaissance. We have a golden opportunity to mold the narrative of the internet, not just as passive consumers, but as active contributors, innovators, and guardians. However, with this potential comes great responsibility. It is our collective duty to ensure that the internet remains open, safe, and beneficial for all. We must work towards bridging the digital divides, enhancing cybersecurity, ensuring digital rights, and fostering innovation.
At the panel session that focused on the theme of the forum, Professor Umar Garba-Dambata, the Executive Vice Chairman, EVC, of the NCC, explained that the continent would be better if digital infrastructure is deployed to the underserved populations so that they can experience inclusivity.
Africa would do well to deploy infrastructure. And this deployment should be ubiquitous. If at all we are going to ensure inclusiveness in the way and manner the internet is going to reach people not only within the major cities, but within the rural, unserved and underserved areas of our continent. I say this because look at what is happening. Out of the 25 least unconnected countries of the world, 21 of them are from Africa. Look at the level of internet penetration. The global internet penetration average is about 62.5%. Africa's figure is 50% of that. So our people are really not connected.
At the press conference that followed immediately after the opening session, Professor Dambata again noted that the Commission has put in place the Nigerian Computer Security Incident Response Team, CSIRT, which provides advisory on how telecom companies could protect themselves from malicious attacks within the cyberspace.
When you talk of security, if I may speak for Nigeria, in addition to the Nigerian Computer Emergency Response Team domiciled in the office of the National Security Advisor to protect the Nigerian cyberspace, we also have what we call sectoral SATs. For the NCC, the one we have is the Nigerian Computer Incidents Response Team, which daily provides advisory on how telecommunication companies can, sort of take measures to protect themselves from malicious attack, of the cyber, within the cyber space. Okay, we give advisories. We even grade the nature of the attacks into, malicious, light, heavy, and so on and so forth.
In the same vein, Mr. Oluyomi Arowo-Shafe, the Secretary, Universal Service Provision Fund, USPF, outlined the efforts of the NCC through the USPF to ensure services are provided to rural, unserved and underserved, as well as bridging the digital divide.
When you are in the rural area, especially in the area of finances, you have the POS and stuff, in those areas, and they are being used to ensure that it bridges the digital divide, not that they have to look for areas that they will have to go miles away to deliver service. So that's as and another thing, which is the inclusivity. We ensure that the youth, especially that chunk of the population, are being encouraged with the provision of some of these devices in schools, secondary schools, and even some of the tertiary institutions.
One of the numerous events that took place on the sidelines of the AFIGF was the session of the African Parliamentarian Network on Internet Governance. It brought together parliamentarians from several African countries to deliberate on the issue of digital rights of citizens, among other matters. While declaring the session open, Nigeria's Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, represented by Senator Salisu Afolabi, Chairman, Senate Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity, says the symposium was historic and a pivotal moment in efforts to bridge the digital divide.
Africa may have missed out in the first industrial revolution, in the second industrial revolution, in the third industrial revolution. But the fourth industrial revolution that is based on digital competence, that's based on knowledge system, knowledge society, is for everybody to grab. And Africa, we are placed in position to lead this digital revolution. Why? Whereas other continents, other countries outside Africa, their population, they have aged population. Africa has youthful population. If you take Nigeria as an example, almost 70% of Nigerian population are youth. What does this mean? It does mean that our youth are agile, our youth can learn new technology and put those technologies to use. So what we counsel the youth, when you go on the internet, when you have access to data, use internet responsibly.
A member of the Ghanaian Parliament and Secretary General of the African Parliamentary Network, Honorable Samuel George, speaks about expectations from the session.
When you're talking about the issues of internet governance, you're talking about legislation and creating safe spaces on the internet and making sure that governments have the right framework for internet governance and the safety of citizens, the digital rights of citizens. Now, you can't continue to have the animosity and acrimony that exists between civil society, technical communities and government. But then you can then leverage on the power of parliaments, because parliamentarians are the ones who pass the legislation anyway. And the executive answers to parliament as well, because parliament exercises oversight. And so it was important to bring members of parliament into the conversation at the policy level, for them to understand what the challenges are from technical community, what the demands and needs and aspirations of civil society are, and then to be able to reflect that in the legislation that we pass, and then in the oversight that we give to the executive.
Beyond the various technical sessions and other scheduled events at the forum, a cocktail party was organized to welcome the delegates on day 0 of the main event. This was followed by a gala night after the opening ceremony was held. In his closing remarks at the event, Professor Dambata expressed appreciation to the delegates and members of the local organizing committee for making the event a success. The EVC employed participants to put an implementation mechanism in place to monitor the resolutions passed to facilitate meaningful progress in the journey to digitize Africa.
When we travel back to our individual countries, we will not forget what brought us here. We do not leave all the very, very laudable statements we have made in our communique. Let us put an implementation process in place to monitor, the implementation of the various communique elements, so that when next we converge for another IGF, we can be able to say with certainty that this is what we plan to do, what we agreed to do under communique number 1. This is what we have done. Okay, whether it is 50%, 60%, 100%, let us review our progress of implementation. Let us do an honest evaluation of the implementation of what we have agreed to do after this event.
As the curtain fell on AFIGF 2023, delegates made a declaration for the implementation of the resolutions of the forum. Some salient points within the declaration include the enhancement of digital cooperation among African countries to digitize the continent, application of shared norms, rules and decision-making procedures that impact on the evolution and utilization of the Internet, accountability of legislation and transparency amongst others. The Africa Internet Governance Forum Abuja 2023 was attended by 17 members of parliament from several African countries, over 600 physical attendees and over 1,000 virtual attendees.
Well, we have come to the end of this week's episode of Telecom Weekly. For further details on the activities of the Commission, feel free to visit our website www.ncc.gov.ng. Telecom Weekly is brought to you by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Until we come your way again next week, remember, take advantage of us so no one takes advantage of you. I am Oluwatobi Enitan saying bye for now.